We live?
Hello, good afternoon, Tracy. We are live again with Straight Talk with Council candidate Ameni Alexander. We all know Ameni Alexander. Before we meet Ameni Alexander, learn about his vision for the city, what issues and what solutions he is bringing. I want to welcome Sonia Parmar. She is my co-host for today. She is a wonderful volunteer for the city of Tracy since long. Before we meet Amini, I'll request Sonia to please briefly share some more about herself.
Sure. Thank you, Gurpage. Hello, everybody. My name is Sonia Parmar. I have been a Tracy resident for more than 10 years now. Um, I've been involved in the Tracy community through my daughter. She's now in college. I am a chemist by profession, so I've worked in the medical device industry, research and development division for almost 15 years, and then changed track, and now I'm managing the laboratory network for a very well-reputed winery in Modesto. So that's a little bit about myself. And I've been involved, as I said, quite a bit in Tracy School District through my daughter, and volunteered in a lot of Olympiads and decathlons and math Olympiads and so on. So education is my passion. So that's a little bit about myself. With that, I'll pass it on to Amini.
Okay. Okay, good evening, Tracy residents. I'd like to say you are my friends and my neighbors, and I'm running for the office of Tracy City Council. And probably wonder, why am I running? I've lived in Tracy for 31 years, and I've been involved in government for about 19 years. During that period of time that I've lived, I've worked hard to make Tracy a better place because I love this city. I've done everything I can to try to help people and try to work with the administrators and government officials of the city. And it's been an interesting job. I mean, I enjoy it. Presently, I serve on the Tracy School Board and Measure B Oversight Committee. But tell you a little bit more about myself. Um, I've served on the Planning Commission. I've been the Vice President of the Planning Commission, the Transportation Commission, the Personnel Advisory Board. And like I said, I'm presently serving on the school board and the Measure B Oversight Committee, 0.5% sales type committee. I'm running for Tracy City Council because I want to bring cohesion and cooperation with our City Council. In the past, we've had a lot of conflict and disagreement with City Council members, and I think that maybe that has a problem of providing effective leadership for our city. I'm not a person that like to dwell on conflict, so I want to be able to work with our city council members and our mayor, whoever they are, to be able to try to do the best things I can for our city. One of the issues I'd like to dwell on or work with is public safety. For example, I don't know if many of you know about it, but Tracy has one of the highest crime rates in our county. If you live in Tracy, you're with 1 in 35 people, you're probably going to be a victim. Tracy is a wonderful city. And we look around how beautiful it is, but we also have a lot of issues with crime and homelessness or vandalism. One of the issues that I would like to address with the police chief, and I've talked with the new police chief and city manager, is that we need to address issues or where the highest crime rate is in the areas. We don't have that many police officers. I think there's about 80 police officers. We need to hire a few more police officers to cover our areas that don't have police officers. I think it's 1 in every 1,000 police officers. So make sure that we have enough police officers to protect our communities and to protect each other. I don't want to overdo it with police, but I want our communities to be safe. I want us to be able to walk out our neighborhoods and not have to worry about being, a victim. And I'm going to work with the city mayor and the police chief to make sure that we can address that issue as much as I can if I get on the council. Another issue I would like to do is jobs. Tracy is known as a commuter city. Most people leave out of Tracy and go to the Bay Area to get jobs where they work at. And I'd like to change that. And I'd like to change that if I can by providing high tech jobs and low tech jobs here for the city of Tracy. And people say, well, how are you going to do that? Okay. I was asked that question, and to me, it's a very simple question. You have to attract the industry to come to Tracy. We live in a agricultural region that's prime, prime for industrial growth and development. We just have to have the right type of leaders that will go out and lobby to bring these companies to Tracy. I mean, we could offer them tax incentive, land use incentive to bring these jobs into Tracy. There are cities that have very small population that high tech companies just develop. I mean, just come there and just have all their development and training in these little cities. I mean, we can attract some of those cities, some of those companies to come to Tracy. But you have to lobby. You have to be a strong leader to, offer them something. Nobody's going to do something for nothing. I mean, you say, well, what can you offer us? Well, they want stable government. They want people. They want a government where the economy in that city is going to be inducible for their benefit to come. They don't want to have come to Tracy and they're going to lose money. We want to be able to have a company that's committed to doing the right thing to come to our city on a long term basis. That's going to hire and train our people, both in low tech jobs and in high tech jobs. We want people that there are some people that are not going to be in high tech jobs. That's just the way it is. But we want them to have a good job. I want them to have a good income level so that they will be trained and be able to work in these industries. We have to change our infrastructure to bring these type of companies into Tracy. I mean, and that takes leadership. That takes working with the mayor, working with the other council members, to working with our governor. I mean, I'm the type of person that if I get elected, I plan to lobby Newsom Gavin. I mean, I'm going to send as many letters as I can to get him to come here to Tracy or come in to bring his specialists to come into our city and say, this is what we need here. We need jobs here in Tracy. Tracy is a wonderful city. You come in, I mean, it's a selling job. You have to be able to sell it. If you don't feel it, you're not going to make it work. That's all I can tell you. So I figure we have to lobby it as hard as we can. And you're not going to have somebody who's inexperienced doing that, because it's not a job that a person just walks on the job. So I can walk into the governor's office, I can send letters and he's going to answer, or so you have to have somebody say, well, you know what, I'm very serious about this. And even have to go to Washington to our congressman or to fight for our city. So that's where I feel, and I feel it. So I can't really tell you more than that. That's how strongly I feel about bringing this to our city. I mean, I've lived here 31 years. I lived here when Tracy was 18,000 people. I mean, you look at now, it's 90,000 people. I mean, I was here on the planning commission where we were talking about having 105,000 people here in the city, and because of the low growth measure, it's around 90. But the future of our city is going to be over 100,000. It may be even 120, 130,000 next within the next 10 years. We have a 10-year economic development growth plan. So within that period of time, you're going to see a lot of new developments come into our city. There's going to be more people from the Bay Area coming here. So we need jobs to stabilize. We need homes. We need new housing and apartment buildings for affordable housing. I mean, we need people who can afford to live here. Right now, the average home is over $400,000, maybe $500,000 for a home. That's the average. On average, the income level for this city is over $88,000 a year for a family. Okay, that's good for Tracy. I mean, that's very good for Tracy, but it's not good for everybody. And I'm this way. If we have a city as beautiful as it is with Tracy, we want to keep it that way. We want to keep our standard of living up. We want to keep our standard of living safe. We want to have a city that we can all be proud of. We walk like, where's Tracy? People, oh, that's a beautiful city in our county. I mean, we want to have a city. If we're looking at the future of this city within the next I say the next 10 years, if I get elected, I'll be next 4. But the next 10 years, they say, guys, Tracy is a major metropolitan city in the San Joaquin County. I mean, it's rivaling Stockton. But you won't have that if you don't have the right type of leadership in this city. I mean, you have to have a leader and leaders that say, we're going to go out and bring money to the city. Go out and lobby our governor. I mean, have him come to Sacramento, from Sacramento, come here in Tracy, sit down with our council and say, look, this is what the kind of development we have. This is what we need for our agriculture. This is what we need for apartments or we need for new housing here. This is what we can do. But you have to, it's like everything else in life. Nobody's going to do something for you unless you could offer them something. Nothing's going to be free given to us. So if you just say, okay, he should do it, that's not going to work. You have to be able to entice him to say, we're going to have a high-speed rail system and have the billions of dollars that it take to bring it here. I mean, a high-speed rail system will eliminate a lot of the traffic on 205, but they're not going to really put that investment unless you really lobby them to bring high-speed rails to Tracy. When I was on the Planet Kids, we talked about it. You're trying to get BART to come out here, trying to get uh, um, rapid transit system to come right through Tracy and land right downtown, where people could get on it and go to the Bay Area, go to Stockton, and it's still in the works. But as I said, you have to have people that really feel it, that they're going to be there to knock on those doors and say, look, we want the money, we want these projects to keep going. And I'm that type of a person. I believe that our transportation is vital for it. It's vital to not only our survival, but survival to our children. I mean, the growth of our children is vital to all of our to all of us. I mean, economically and politically, it's viable too. So that's one of the things. Another thing that I'd like to work on. Since we're talking about affordable housing and high-speed rail, jobs, I also believe in small business development. For 11 or 12 years, my wife and I, we were small business owners. We owned a travel agency called Classic Travel here in Tracy. And it was like the second largest travel agency in Tracy. And then people thought, well, how could you have a business that's doing almost $1 million a year? And I'm like, well, we had good management, of course, myself, and my wife, but I'm saying, it takes a lot of techniques. It takes a lot of things, a commitment you put into it. The problem is the economy. You can't always predict what the economy is going to happen. And because of the internet and because of the airlines, they stopped paying us commissions. So we couldn't do business without going under law. So we stopped operating. We still own it, but we're not operating because we're operated at a law. So I understand the needs of small businesses in this community and how they need help to continue. Small businesses account for 80% of the jobs in this country. I'm not really sure why we don't put more emphasis in helping our small business community. I mean, we have to. I mean, and if I'm elected, I will do everything I can to see if I can get loans for them, incentives, because the jobs are right there. That we can help them. They'll provide the jobs also for low-tech jobs, or the type of jobs that can expand. So we gotta sit down and talk to the Chamber of Commerce, talk to the businesses in our community, and say, what can we do to help one another? It's a partnership. We don't do anything without one person one hand helping the other hand, or scratching each other's back. I mean, we have to work together, and you can't do that if you're fighting with one another. You just can't do it. I mean, it's like, because everybody has special interests. But I've always talked, and I talked to the mayor, and I've talked to several, and said, nobody gets everything the way they want. We have to, it's a shared thing where sometimes you win and sometimes I win. Sometimes if we're fighting with each other, nobody wins. So I want to be able to sit down and say, look, we can work together. We can work. I mean, I may not get along with you on one end, but I may get along with you on another end. I mean, I'd be able to say, well, look, this is what I need. Sit down and say, this is what you need. I mean, we can work together. I mean, it's not a big issue unless you just really don't want to work. But my feeling is that if you want to make, you want to have economic growth, and you have economic development, then you got to have a partnership with all the elements. We work like a wheel. If that one spoke and that wheel doesn't work, the whole wheel stops working. So, if we work together in every aspect, and if you have reasonable people, you got to have reasonable people. You have people that I don't care what you say. I'm looking at your color. I'm looking at your, where your background, where you came in. I'm not going to work with you, or whatever. You're in for a problem. I'm saying it's going to be very, very difficult, to get. But if you have people that's reasonable, saying, if I can make a profit, you can make a profit. I can help your kids, and you can help my kids. If we do that on our city council, we'll have a wonderful city council, and a wonderful city. Our whole city will be like a beacon. I really be like a beacon in the San Joaquin County, because I look at it and say, we have done a lot, when some of the time I've come here, but we have so much more that we could achieve. So much more that's out there. I mean, with the right leadership. And many times I've talked to the mayor and it's going in one ear and out the other. Not just the present mayor, but past mayors. And I've said, look, we can achieve economic development by doing simple things. Just some of the things I mentioned. We have to lobby. We have to have a strong lobby in Sacramento. We have to have a strong where we sit there and knock on the governor's door and say, we need this. You can't get around. I mean, you're not walking out their door unless you hear me, and then sit down and talk to our senators and say, our legislators, say, look, we need these resources to build our community for these. So If you don't have that, and it's not your priority, it's not going to happen because they're not going to do that. I mean, they got other priorities. They got other people that that they support. Other people that say, well, you worked in my campaign or you worked in my my community. That's where my resources are going. So
Right.
that's kind of the way I look at things. I look at it on a practical sense. Uh, um, Another sense is I look, is that we live in a city where we have homelessness in our city. And like we have like 100, when I first got on the school board, they said it was 550. We had 550 people who were homeless in our city. That was the official record they gave to me in my orientation package. Okay. I got into trouble for saying that though. But the present city manager said we have 150. Now I'm not sure exactly what the real official issue is, but I'm sure it's within 150 to 550 people in our city. Um, and there are homeless people because even today, my wife just went down to the park and fed the homeless. Just went. She does it every couple of weeks. Go down and feed the homeless and provide them with shop. Type of things that they can take, brush their teeth and take a bath and those kind of material out of her own pocket, her and another group of people. And we need people that deal with the homeless. I mean, we can't run around it. We got to be able to bring them to the table and say, look, what is it that you need that will keep you from being homeless? You can't you can't keep everybody from being homeless because I know people that no matter what you do, it's not going to help them. They're going to be homeless. I've talked to people that have been homeless 25 years and they're still homeless. I mean, and you ask, and they get an income, they get Social Security or whatever. No matter what you say, they're not going to help. But I talked to a guy, I make it a project because a lot of times when I'm in the Bay Area, when I'm around, I don't turn my back. I look at the homeless and if I don't always talk to them. I just look at what the condition that they're in and say, how can you change this? How can you make it better as a city? For all of us, because I don't want our community to be afraid to walk down the street that there's homeless people back there urinating in their backyard or something, or their kids are walking down the street and saying, oh, look at this is happening over here. I want to bring them to the table and say, look, this is the issue. Why are you homeless? Is there any way we can help you to if we can provide you with some resources, would you come off the streets and and provide you with some social services, a job or whatever that you can live by? And if they say yes, I'll be more than welcome. And I guarantee you, that's probably over majority would probably accept the assistance. There's a number that probably won't, but I bet the majority would probably help assistance if we decide that this is a priority, that we're going to have resources from the state government or from the federal government that we're going to provide for them, and we're going to monitor it to make sure that if you really are serious about it, then we'll do our best to help you. I mean, that your job is that you will not be homeless or try not to be homeless, and also that you don't commit crimes. And during the period of time, you don't break into businesses, or you don't be vandalism, that type of thing. You sit there and say, what is it? Because sometimes when you're reasonable with people, they'll tell you exactly what's going on with them. And I usually sit down and talk to people. Like, if you can't talk to people, you can't talk to a person, you're wasting your time. I mean, they're not going to listen. They're wasting the time. If you have a communication with someone that says, "Look, I'm homeless for this reason, or I got this happening in social, I got these issues that happen at home, or whatever. What can I do? What can you do to help me?" I think we could come up with a solution. I mean, to solve a great deal of it. You can't solve it nationally unless we have on a nationwide basis where the president, all the way makes it a national emergency, where we kind of have all of our governmental services flowing toward energy. And you never know, it may happen. It may happen. We may end up having a president that may say, "Look, this is such an issue that we're going to address in every city of this country." I mean, that would be, more than we could ask for, but it's possible. We always kept up hope. I know I talked a lot, but I can tell you that I'm really strongly feel what I say, and that's the reason why I'm running for city council. I know there are other candidates that are very enthusiastic about it, but it's kind of hard for me to explain to people that this is just the way I feel, and I've felt it for a long time. I mean, a lot of times people say, "Why do you do this? Why are you running for this? Why are you on the school board?" If you follow the school board, in many cases I've been in trouble because I've spoken about things, stood up or spoke about things because that other school board members won't touch. And it's things I feel strongly about. I mean, and even though people will say, just stick with the crowd or just go along with everybody else. I can't do it. I have to feel how I feel, my heart, and how I feel what is right. And I believe that if I go with what's right, I have a lot of people behind me, or people that may not say much, but they'll follow him and say, you know what, I'm behind you. So that's how I feel. Uh, I would just say I serve on the Measure B Oversight Committee. The Measure B Oversight Committee is a committee that oversees a 0.5% sales tax. That's sales tax that generates between $9 to $11 million a year in sales tax and from money from sales taxes. Right now, the city is facing a budget crisis because they because of the coronavirus, a lot of our money from resources revenue is drying up. So they've tapped into the Measure B Oversight Committee money, but hopefully the coronavirus will. They'll have a cure for it within the near future, and then we'll be able to get back to our general business. And that money will come in, and some of that money that comes in, we'll be able to put toward homelessness or toward affordable housing and some of the projects, because it's going to generate a lot of over 200, about 220 million. Around 220 million within the next 20 years, something to that effect, or
Right.
more.
No, no, thank you, Ameni. That's a good point. So you explained your vision, so why you are standing. You are very passionate about the city, about the citizens,
Mm-hmm.
working on the voluntary task for more than 2 decades, involved in planning commission, then
Mm-hmm.
involved in part of the school board. And now I'll just pass it on to Sonia to please lead us further into the discussion.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Amini, for all that information. I think our viewers will really find it helpful in understanding what your goals are and why you are actually planning to run for the city council. One of the questions that I would like to understand, basically from a personality standpoint, is you talked about conflict management and how there are times when you have to resolve conflicts within the city council itself. So when it comes to conflict management, what is your approach as a leader?
Well, I could say in law school, I took conflict management classes. And usually, to be safe, is that you usually take an issue that is really an important issue that's just going to draw a lot of, on both sides, an issue that you're highly passionate about on both sides of it. And my way I would address conflict is that I would present my position, and listen to the other side, and then try to resolve it right in the middle. As I said earlier, nobody gets everything they want. I mean, sometimes it's a give and take process. You try to work with the manager. Sometimes you're not going to win at all. I mean, sometimes you lose. You lose, and is what's in the best benefit. And sometimes a person who really is strong about an issue comes out on the losing side. So my feeling is, you have to just accept this politics, or it's also how you manage life. Is you look at it and say, what is in the best interest for our city? What is in the best interest for overall for everyone? I mean, do you uh, stick to your guns? Mm-hmm.
I
You
think
stick to
you
your guns.
explained it well. Yeah, I think you explained it well. Listening and understanding is definitely one of the key points in resolving
Mm-hmm.
conflict. So yeah, that was a good answer. The second point I have is regarding you talked a lot about how experience plays a big role in leadership and how you have learned over many years. What are your thoughts on actually developing new talent and bringing them on to the positions like city councils and maybe some other positions where they can bring these fresh ideas to the table and help the community?
Well, I'm gonna say, if I can understand you, what is my how would I bring fresh ideas to the city council or to community boards and commissions? Um,
Right.
yeah. Well, you can always bring them, but whether a person listens is another story. I mean, that's the whole thing. I have a lot of ideas, and people that are in the community have a lot of ideas that are really strong points, that they would like to meet. But if you don't have a city council or a mayor, or you don't have a person on the planning commission that even listens, it's not going to go any far. It's not going to go very, very far. And we have developers that develop projects or that are in the best interest of the city, or some that's not in the best interest. I'll tell you one example. When I was on the planning commission, we had a situation where Walmart was bringing in food into the. They wanted to bring food into Walmart. They didn't have it. They had like maybe just clothes or those things, and they wanted to open up a part of Walmart that they could bring in food, low cost food. And it was a big issue in our city, which was Save Mart and Safeway, because they said they're going to put them out of business if you. So as a idea, I said, well, maybe they're not going to put us out of business, but I wanted to be sure. Before I took a step, I wanted to just talk to Safeway, and I wanted to talk to Save Mart to be sure. So we had a meeting and asked them to come, and they wrote a letter, said they're gonna put us out of business, and they never showed up. Three times. I was the vice chairman. 3 times they never show up. I mean, and so finally we went ahead and I talked to the Walmart, and I said, I like your idea, but I would like to see you have when I like to you see minorities and seniors in Walmart. As a if you want to come in this at Walmart with low cost food, I mean, I would also like to see you make a commitment to the community. You make a commitment where you're going to hire minorities and you're going to hire seniors, at least seniors in our community. And at first it was like, why are you asking me this question? The ideas, you're talking about bringing ideas, but I wanted to see where their head was at and how they were for our community. And eventually they came along with my idea. And if you go into Walmart now, I'm not going to say I'm the main architect of that, but I had a main impact on them. If you go into Walmart, where you see seniors that are working in Walmart, there's more minorities working in Walmart, because I made the suggestion, brought up the ideas, and I made it very strong. If you don't have someone there that's even bringing it, it's not going to happen, or it may take a while for it to happen if it does. But I would welcome the ideas, because I believe new ideas is what move our future. I mean, and it could come from a child. It doesn't have to come from a, a person who is an older person. It can come from a young person. Just great idea to sit down and say, let's go talk about it. How would you make this happen? Because being on the school board, I've seen high school students come with major inventions, not major, but with inventions that I'm amazed. I mean, that how they brought this up. And then I'd like to see that turn into in some kind of way become a benefit for them, a benefit for our city. I mean, I don't know if I answered your question right, but I welcome new ideas.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, thank you very much. I mean, appreciate it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
from the COVID aspect, as it is impacting all walks of life, it has a huge impact on our citizens as well. So in Tracy, we have one Sutter hospital, which is always at the capacity because of these issues. Mountain House is a big city. So
Mm-hmm.
the citizens, if they feel anything, they have to either go to Modesto or the San Joaquin County Hospital. So from that perspective, what are your thoughts in future if you are getting elected? So what will you do to increase the capacity of the hospitals?
Okay. Um, are you is it one specific hospital such as Sutter or Kaiser? Because each one has a different type of agenda. So I'm a member of Kaiser, right? And I know Kaiser right now they're developing. You know they're expanding all the time. Now Sutter Hospital, I would like to talk to their leadership and find out what their future development or future plans are for expansion into because we need more hospital beds. We need more uh, uh, a larger complex for people to come into and to be able to be serviced. So I don't know how we do that without having a major discussion. What we would offer Sutter Hospital or Tracy General that would induce them to it's a negotiation process. Maybe we could talk to them, and maybe they will be able to buy them to expand, and we could offer them some incentives to expand. But more than likely, I bet it's probably we're gonna end up having to put a measure on the ballot, maybe to get them some resources to expand it. I mean, so it's kind of like a twofold situation where if we do, they may need the help to expand. It's a partnership. You have everything else. If it works for them, it works for us, and the citizens look at it and say, it's for our benefit. Sure, I'd be willing to put a measure, but also I want to kind of stay away from actually taxing people too much. You know what I mean? I want people to be able to, to not have to worry about it, being taxed on this and taxed on that, to for their services. But it's something we need. We got to do it. Okay.
So thank you very much, Amini. So
Thank you.
you are for the partnership, negotiations, and working with the organizations to provide them, incentivize them to bring them back. So that is a great initiative. Thank you. And now I'll pass it on to Sonia.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you, Vivek. So one question I have, Amini, is regarding, all the challenges that our city is facing. What do you think are the three main challenges at the moment, except COVID, because we all know that's kind of standard all across. What are the three main challenges in terms of, severity, and how will you prioritize them?
Okay, first thing is the budget. I mean, we're like I mentioned earlier, we're in a crisis situation with our city budget. The city budget, I remember, is over 200 million, 219, $220 million a year. And right now, their reserves are empty. I mean, for what they have reserved for our city. So we have to get our city reserves back, and we have to get our budget back because otherwise they're facing layoffs for our city employees, and I don't want to see that happen. If anything, I want to be able to to because they're drawing right now on Measure B funding. The funds from Measure B have some sales tax to finance some of the city works right now. So I want to be sure that we can find a way to address that. Um, we have so many things, jobs, homelessness. I mean, I could go down the list. I mean, homelessness, um, safety. When I came here, we had 18,000 people. Now we have 90,000 and projected. And it was a few years ago when I was on the planning commission. We wanted 105,000. Measure A limited the number of growth units. So we figure crime, housing, homelessness, diversity. We live in a situation where Black Lives Matter is an issue in our city, our country, and it's not going away. It's going to be an issue in the future. We all have to address and deal with it. How is our police force going to deal with these issues? What kind of police chief? How's he going to address it? I mean, you look at the situation hiring in the police. We got hiring in our fire department. I mean, we're dealing with a situation where the fire department is going to be the county fire department. It's not going to be the local. It's going to be just from the county. So we got those kind of issues, major issues. But it's like you have to have the right person to sit there and say, this is my job, and I can deal. I'm not stressed out about it. And I'm not going. I can handle this. It's not beyond me. It's just something that I live for. So that's what I left. I could go down the list and say, it's A, B, C down to Z. You could talk about high prices, and in the stores, food, the price of the food, taxes on our citizens. We could talk about how do we get the high tech, low tech jobs back into our city. If we prioritize it, say this is what needs to be done. Some people are talking about Legion Field and uh, the aquatic park. I mean, being finished with the funds. I mean, this right there, it should be finished. I mean, so it comes down to how are we as a council going to sit down and say what goes first? What is more important? I mean, we're going to have to deal with people being laid off. We're going to deal with how we're going to keep our businesses afloat. I mean, what is it going to take to have the businesses that you see at the curbs right now? There's our restaurants that are servicing people. What is it going to take to keep them open? Because they're generating revenue back to the city. What is it? Is that the priority? We're going to put our money behind to keeping them open, or are we going to put it someplace else? So it's kind of like, it's a piece of pie. We have a piece of pie. How do we cut that pie? So everybody comes out, in a fair, because somebody's not going to get a piece, or they're going to get a very small piece. They're going to complain about it. So it depends on the budget. How are we going to deal with this? Grapple with these situations. If we sit there and we look at this and say, I don't care. I have my friends, or I have my businesses, the people that I feel are more important. If we have a council or a council or a mayor who just looks at this and says, I'm sorry for it. We have to wait and see. These are the more important issues right for me. These are the people that supported me. These are the people that did this for me. These are the people that I feel comfortable with. These are my businesses. Well, it's all part of politics. I'm not trying to give you like a bad situation. It's like the reality is we have to sit down and work together. I mean, be honest with you. And if you say, look, what's fair for all of us? I mean, if we live in that type of society, we live in this type of a city where we want to make it better for everybody, then we look at that where we don't really care except for our own self-interest. That's where it's going to be. You're going to have businesses that are going to close up and other businesses will stay open. So we figure out how are we going to keep our restaurants open? How are we going to keep our small businesses that are in development open? I know myself, when we own Classic Travel, if we had just I don't know. I'll say we had a little bit of help, we would still probably be open, but it was costing so much money we couldn't keep it open. I mean, we were doing a lot of business, and all of a sudden everything just went on the internet, or everything was with the economy just changed, where the government gave the travel agency billions of dollars, and they took it and fired people anyway. Wouldn't give us commission. So it depends on how we want to address the situation with our community. If we have a city mayor that I can work with, city council members, because it only take three that you can sit and say these are important priorities. Let's talk with, and the community people. I mean, people that are in our community, we can sit down and say, look, tell me what your problem is, and let's see what we can work out together. How should we address this? If we can do that, we'll have a wonderful city. I mean, I look at Tracy for the future, and look at all the people that are going to come here, all of our children's children, and say, we could really have a major city, a really good thing here. Or we could look at it and say, there's a lot of people being laid off. There are hundreds of people that are homeless, sleeping in the parks, and our jails are filled up with a lot of people that are being arrested for vagrancy or for breaking into people's businesses. You could go down the gamut, I guarantee you. Or we could try to work it together and say, look, we're all in this together. I mean, when I address it, I call Tracy our neighborhoods and our friends. We are all family together here. I mean, if you look at it, say, your children are my children are your children. If we work together, say, look, it's not just a one thing, it's together. If we can work this together and sit down and say, look, let's sit down and drink some coffee, or eat some dinner and talk to you. What are the issues that affect your community? Because I've traveled around the world, and I looked at many different types of situations, and I studied political systems on my own. I had to do it on my own because I was trying to find something better than this democracy, and I was dissatisfied growing up. So I don't want to go into my own personal, but I studied political science, and I studied theories, of what makes one community or one country better. And I couldn't come up with what they would apply the theory to the practice. And discrimination or people being in poverty, homeless, and the government not doing anything. And I had to figure there had to be something better. And for me, I had to rectify it with myself. So I started traveling around different countries around the world, and when I came back, I found out that I'm living in a really good situation here, even though I didn't think so. A really good situation where I can make it better, but I have to be the person to do it. I have to be able to run for office. I have to be the spokesman. I have to be able to talk. I have to be able to, because I'm in a situation where I can get an education. I'm in a situation where I can work and have money that I can help people with, or I can have a voice. And that's what I'm trying to do. From when I sit back and look at our democracy and say, we live in a really good situation here. I mean, compared to a lot of countries. I mean, and you sit back and think we can work this out together. We don't live in a country that's at war. Our country that's being torn apart with mass starvation, or we live in a country that's corrupt by ruled by the military, or ruled by all these crazy things. So we live in a good situation where we at least can say in 4 years we can vote somebody out, or we can put in somebody else who have better ideas and who's willing to listen. I mean, I could go on to you, but I have to tell you how I feel and why I'm running, because I'm not just running because other people say you go out there and there's something to do. I sat down and I read and I studied and I put it together in my own head that this has to be the right thing to do. You have to have a person in the office who says, you know what, I care about this country, and I care about everybody's family, not just my own, but I care about us all. I care about the animals in the shelter, how they being treated. I mean, we all have animals that we love. I care about how we fund the shelter, who we hire to take care of them. It's so many issues I could address. We go on and say this, and this, but because there's so many things I can't really put them down except to say that if you you'll see if I get elected to city council, you'll see, because I'll be contacting you and I'll be working with you in the groups and saying, look, let's let's come up with some ideas. So that's all I can tell you.
Sounds very good. I think you answered. I had a few follow-up questions for what you
Sure.
said, but you answered all of them, so that's great. There is one question I have. You talked about, making improvements, and I think it's great to have a big list in front of yourself,
Hmm.
because if the issues are not right in front of yourself, they're kind of, out of sight, out of mind. So that's great.
Uh-huh.
But then when we talk about continuous improvements and actually bringing in these projects, a feedback loop is very important. I think you're doing something for the society, you're doing something for the community, but I think it's very essential to get that feedback from the community, that all that effort that you're putting in, how
Hmm.
are they affecting? How are they actually benefiting? Are they making any improvements? So, what are
Hmm.
your thoughts on getting that feedback into the system? Because I think it's very, very important to make any progress when it comes to development of cities
Hmm.
and local
Right,
authorities.
right, right. I think you first thing you got to listen. I mean, if you go off into the community and say this is people will come and say this is what we need. You got to listen. You got to have an ear and say, okay, this is okay. Let's sit down and let's talk about it. I mean, it may be a project that you may not even know anything about. It may be something that really is really unique or really just you have no idea. But if you sit down and listen, the first thing is if you have a closed mind, you're gonna say, I don't have time to listen to that. I don't care about what you say. I got other projects. So my feeling is if the community is really strong, and I've always felt this way, to listen to them. I mean, rather than just your own ideas. I mean, if you're a leader, you have to make tough decisions. Believe me. You sometimes you don't really want to do things, but it's for the betterment of the entire community. You have to make a tough choice. But generally, if you don't listen to like you don't listen to people, I mean, you kind of like going out on a limb by yourself. So you have to listen. And the reason why I say this is because um, I was on a transportation commission, and senior citizens came to us with a fact that they didn't have transportation in their area, to get around to the shopping malls and stuff. They were at like this homes, and they couldn't get out. I mean, they could only get out if somebody took them. And we were bringing in the bus system, the new bus system. And the other commission wouldn't listen. I mean, it's like we need a route so that at least on Sundays, at least on every so often, we can get to shop and do it. And they wouldn't listen. I mean, it's like it's very simple. I sat there and I read and I looked at the routes, and I said, well, why can't we divert this route there? So many hours. Let them know that when they can get on and get off and do shopping and come back. But it just it's like you're talking, and sometimes you get heard, sometimes you don't. So I would say is the first thing before you do for anything is we have to listen to, and hopefully we have a leader that will direct us in that direction. Because if you have 3 people that says no and 2 people that says this is a good idea, these citizens need this, or they need these services, the 3 is going to win. So I get to you. It's like you talk about conflict resolution. That's when you really need it. You really need to really sit there and say, you can argue all day long, but it ain't gonna work. I mean, because unless you get one person to change their vote or change their mind, and it depends. That's like I said, it just depends on who you elect. I mean, you get what you ask for. If you get people that are very stubborn, no one else, and you elect them, don't expect that they're going to change the way they are, because they are the way they are when they're running. If you ever listen, they are. That's the way they are. So I could put it that way.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for your time and explaining all your policies and answering all my questions. I truly appreciate that. And good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. I guarantee you, if I get elected, you will see me again. I promise you, I will be. I will
You know,
be talking to you.
thank you very much,
Thank
Ameni.
you, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, much appreciated.
I want to say thank you for inviting me onto your show and to your listeners. I hope that, regardless whether I get elected or not, that I will be here, and then I welcome comments. I welcome people to be able to actually talk to me or to come and give me their ideas, so I'll be able to be more informed, as time goes forward. And so, like I said, this is our community, and we're all neighbors and friends, really. I mean, when it comes right down to it. So, I mean, if we can at least talk with one another on a level that we say, well, this is the kind of issues that you address, and it's kind of issues that are bothering me. we can work together. As I said, I travel around the world and I talk with different leaders. And on personally, talk with different leaders. And I talk with issues. So I say this has got to be something better. We can do this, and it comes back to we're right here. This is it right here. A lot of people don't realize it, but we have the best of the possible of agenda of working together and being able to build things, build our community, provide jobs, education for our people right here. I mean, if we work together. I mean, if we don't, we're looking at not a good situation in our country and for our city. So,
Thank you very much, Ameni, for bringing an open mind and listening attitude, accountable for the citizens. And the main thing is you said you will always be reachable to all the citizens.
that's
And
right.
before I want to thank you, Ameni Alexander, because last time for our viewers, we had to cancel our discussion due to some technical issues. So I want to sincerely
Yes.
thank you, Ameni, for finding your time for your busy schedule as we are nearing the November 3rd and you are busy as per your schedule. But you found time to share your thoughts, your visions, why you are running for the city, what are the issues you see, and what kinds of solutions you want to bring to the city. So
I thank you
sincerely,
very, I thank you very much. I know we had first time we had technical problems, so you saved the best for last.
right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Amini. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Doctor. Have a
All right.
wonderful
Thanks a
day.
lot. Take care,
Thank
man.
you.
Okay.